Problem 27 out of the set of problems to review for the final exam. And you'll notice this one is an exponential growth problem. We're given that there was a population of a certain country was 22 million in this year, and then in 1991 it was 32 million. Notice they are asking me to use this formula, and the question is, what is the growth rate, the K value? And so let's just write down the formula as it's originally given to us, so that the future amount is equal to the original amount times E to the K times T. And remember, the E is the base here because we're assuming that this population is growing continuously. We're given a time period, but we're not given the growth rate. And so let's just sort of fill in the blanks of what we know, and then we're going to conclude that what we will wind up doing is solving for that value K, which is to find the value of an exponent. And so the original amount was 22 million. The future amount that they gave me was 32 million, E, K, and this occurred over an 8-year period. And so there's the setup. Now let's isolate the exponential part of this by dividing both sides by 22. So I'm going to get 32 divided by 22 is equal to E to the K times 8. We're going to take now the logarithm to the base E of both sides, which will give me this on the left. I'll take the logarithm to the base E here of this. And so just stop for a moment with me. We know that I'm going to use the power rule next. I'm going to come down and I'm going to say K times 8. And we know that this is 1. How do we know that? Well, we know that the answer to this part of the problem is what exponent must I raise E to get E? Well, it's 1. Now, this side does not change. It's still take the ln of 32 over 22. And you can tell the next step's pretty easy. We're just going to divide both sides. We're going to divide both sides by 8. And we're going to get that K is this calculation here, right? And so let's use our calculator, and we'll determine the value of K pretty quickly. And so let me hold this where you can see it. So I'm going to put in the logarithm of 32 divided by 22, which is that value. And so this is the exponent that I would use to raise E to get that quantity there. Well, that's not the answer, because this is the total growth, if you want to think of it that way, in terms of the growth rate. And what I've got is I'm looking at the per year. I want to know the per year growth rate. This formula assumes that I want to know the annual rate. So I want the annualized rate. So I'm just going to divide by 8. I'm going to divide this number by 8, and I get that the K factor is 0.04683 and some more. So I get 0.0, I'm just copying this number down, 0.0468366 and so forth. The question says, the instructions say to round it to 3 decimal places. So tenths, hundredths, thousandths, and so we'll round to the thousandth place, and this next digit, the 10,000th place, is an 8. If you remember your rounding rules, it says to increase this 6 to a 7. So that's the K factor that we wanted. And so what answer choice is that? So the answer to number 27 is D. The answer to this one is D. So if we wanted to check this would be fairly easy to check, right? We would just come back and we would replace in the original equation the value for K that we could use is we would use this 0.047. Now, notice that when you use this value, you're not going to get exactly 32. Why? Because we're using the rounded value. If you wanted to get the exact value, what would you use for this calculation. And so hope this doesn't confuse you, but let's just take one more step here and just check this. So what I want to do is I want to know if 32 is equal to 22 times e to the k. Now, and what I want to do is I want to input this exponent such that I'm going to get the calculated value here in my calculator. So I'll have all these decimal places. Ready? So I'm going to put in this ln 32 over 22 divided by 8 times 8. Right? And so this looks kind of weird, but this is the exponent. This is the exponent that's on e. Now you notice what's going to happen, don't you? The a's are going to cancel out, and you're going to say, "Well, that's interesting." But let's make sure that this calculation comes back exactly to 32. All right. So let me clear all this out. So what am I doing here? I'm going to put back into my graphing calculator. I'm going to put in 22 times e, and this exponent is a little bit complicated because it's going to be, probably I need to put this in parentheses here. So let's do it this way. Let's put in parentheses. Let's put in ln 32 divided by 22. Right, let's close those parentheses. Put divided by 8, close those parentheses, times 8. So that was kind of complicated, wasn't it? So I had to go through a few steps just to get this whole thing in. But let's hit enter and we get 32. Yay, so all that worked. Had I used 0.047, I would have gotten close to 32, but I wouldn't have gotten exactly 32. So what this calculation is doing, it's allowing the calculator to recall and to keep this decimal series of values here. And the answer they asked for on the problem was the rounded value. So let's see, what else can we say about this? I think that's probably enough, don't you? So again, the answer to D is, the answer to 27 is D. So the K factor is 0.047. And let me slide that up so you can see it a little bit better again.